G'day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Finance But Neat, where we're pretty certain that early academic success isn't a precursor to your long-term financial and career outcomes. I thought you'd like that. Look, last episode, what we did is we had a look at the broker side of things. We went through the triage process that we do at Funded. We looked at bridging loans, borrowing capacity, getting all that. And I think today is kind of that next half of the conversation around why you're making decisions. And I don't think most people get to it. So if you've been sitting on the fence about upgrading, waiting for the right time, trying to figure out how to keep the first place and still make the move, today's episode is for you, because trying to eat your cake and have it too just leaves you in an ambiguous world of no decision in my mind, or at least in my experience. So joining me today is the incredible wonderkin of Cruz Financial. I'm going to call you that a lot. Thanks for driving all the way up to Brizzy, Riley. G'day guys, Alex here, just editing in the background, and I thought I'd just drop you a quick note before we get into it. Look, this episode, it was recorded before the federal budget in May 2026, and a few things, they've changed. Specifically at the core of what we discussed was negative gearing in CGT. But rather than not post it, what I wanted to do is just flag that there's going to be information that's not current and accurate, potentially in the future. And if you've got questions throughout the episode, what I'd recommend is listen to the principles we discussed, because there's a lot of evergreen content in there. And then what I'd recommend is going and watching the budget reaction if you haven't already. You're going to see Riley and a few other experts in there that really break it down at a very high level. And then hang on, because in 2 weeks, we've got another type of episode coming where I just distill all the information of the first few podcasts into one video audio podcast where you can just get the information and really get a lot of clarification. So stick around, enjoy this episode. It's a cracker, my favorite one so far that we've released. All right, enjoy the pod.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
2 hours and 15.
Yeah, 2 hours 15. It's never a fun drive, but it is a really good opportunity, like what you do as well. I make a lot of key phone calls, catch up with staff members, smash out a podcast. So yeah, it's actually a good time with your own thoughts, where I wouldn't normally get 2 hours to myself at any other time. So
are you,
I enjoy it.
Maybe this is a post-kids thing, so you'll know this very soon. I will find myself like half hour into a drive, just silence, not anything anymore. And that's weird. I shouldn't be, it's probably when Bindi starts getting dictated messages and reminders that they're just really thoughts that I need put somewhere. And I'm like, cool. I've just been thinking about this for the last 45 minutes. Yep. It needs to go somewhere, which is why I love Plaud, actually. Have you gotten onto that?
No.
Plaud?
No.
Dude.
No.
Plaud.
Plaud.
D. Yeah. Yep. It's an AI dictation transcript tool. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not going to put the rest of what I do with that on the podcast, because that is IP. But yeah, I'll tell you after. It's epic. It's changing the way actually, Bindi put this the best. It's curing my ADHD.
Yep.
With what I'm doing with it at the moment, which is really cool.
Helps offload what's on the brain. I do a lot of that with ChatGPT, but I find that when I need to do it, the audio cuts out, or it says, "Oh, you've used up your minutes of audio."
So really?
Even though
how often do you talk to it?
Sometimes I'll talk to it for 10 minutes straight.
Wow.
I ask it to like draft me a couple of emails and templates, and then it just cuts out, and I just lose my mind because it only got half
I
the
dictate
instructions.
to it, but I don't converse with it.
Oh no, I don't converse with it.
Oh.
I'm not like that. I'll dictate.
You dictate, okay.
And it cuts off.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Wow. All right.
Off topic.
Yeah, I've never had that. I think one of the big things that we've been speaking about, like on this topic, is the upgrade move of a property always feels like a really emotional thing, or like a want. Like, I want to do this. Like there's a lot of justification around it with family and kids and all of that stuff. And realistically, I think we're on the same page here. For me, it always seems less of that and more of a it actually should be a financial planning move and a decision around that. And we've had I think we've had 2 clients at the moment who have upgraded, mutual clients that have upgraded, and you've kind of helped their decision making on both of those.
Yeah.
What are people missing when they're not upgrading?
Yeah, a lot of things, a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And depending on who you talk to, they're often missing something. One thing I just want to piggyback on what you said there before I answer the question is, it is an emotional decision. We're not buying an investment property based on mathematics. We're buying something that is going to put a roof over your head, your children's head, grandchildren's head. And with the price of property, depending on where you want to live, a lot of the time we're talking about $1 million minimum decision, depending on where you live, right? This is a humongous decision.
I mean, it's almost like, if I can speak to myself, if I want to upgrade where I want to live, realistically, it's a $2 million decision.
Absolutely.
And that's that's not happening.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
My sister is in Salisbury, not anymore, but that was her first home, and it was, we're talking 12 years ago, it was a sub $400,000 purchase.
Yep.
You're now looking to get 1,000 square meter block in Salisbury with a nice house on it, $2 million.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to think about things completely differently to what you did a decade ago. But in terms of your question, what are people missing? You really got to take it on a case-by-case basis. But the fundamental thing that I think people are missing is planning.
Yeah.
Sitting down, having a conversation with yourself. And that's actually a weird thing to do. But we talked about it before. You need to have a conversation with yourself. You need to have a conversation with your partner. What does life look like? What do we want life to look like?
So just kind of getting out of that I react action kind of thought process. It feels like most people go want, they don't really position the need and everything. You've got a great activity, which we'll get to a little bit later on around that. But I think there's kind of this reaction of, I want this, let's see if we can do this and run after it. I've got a lot of debt.
That's exactly right. And the stakes are high with this sort of stuff. I had a person reach out to me about a week ago in Western Australia, selling their house for 1.5, found a place for 2.8, and started to make offers on that, and basically had not even spoken to the mortgage broker yet. And then the first thing I do is go, hey,
that's double. That's double.
Do you know you're up for $10,000 to $12,000 a month in mortgage repayments for the next 30 years? And they go, oh.
You probably, how much in stamp duty? 200?
6 figures in stamp duty. Yeah.
Like you're already probably at, I guess an investment, you're probably already at 2 mil is like, what, 80, 90 minimum? Yeah.
Mistake.
That's crazy.
Huge decision. And if you're not planning, you will sign yourself up to working for the man or yourself or whatever for the next 30 years if you don't think about it. And everything is trade-offs. There's an infinite amount of wants.
All you're trying to do is have the nicest barbecue on a weekend.
Yep.
That's, Speaking of which, I love that transition. That was a good transition. Fourth wall doesn't exist. One of the things that I get regularly, and I cannot believe that this isn't the first time you've heard this, one family member said it to me on the weekend, and I've heard it so many times. I spoke to a financial planner once. All they wanted to do was talk about stocks, bonds, and it's like, this is a classic barbecue chat around financial planners, right? What's your thoughts? Like, what's your right of reply? I'll give you the floor on that one.
Yeah. Well, look, to be honest, I don't know how I'd react in that exact situation. I've been very, very fortunate where for the last 8 years of being a financial planner, and I've only ever really worked at this firm with the same partners. We've rebranded, we've gone self-licensed, but I've only ever worked in a holistic firm that does everything. We don't do life insurance now, but we've always done everything. And funnily enough, 2 of my great friends are financial advisors just by chance.
Yeah.
And then I had a chat with them, and they basically gave me the same thing, that their firms pretty much would just focus on super and investments. And this was a couple of years ago, and that just punched me in the face, like the line you said there at the barbecue. Yeah. And I couldn't believe it, because from my perspective, how can you make an informed financial decision regarding your entire life, which is many different aspects to your life, just focusing on 2 pieces?
Yeah.
right? It's just not possible.
I think, and look, I remember learning about financial planning for the first time. I was working in a bank branch, a big old black and yellow, and just learning about financial planning, I was like, oh, this all makes sense, what you're saying. And then seeing the outcome of what they were doing in Bankland a few years later through Royal Commissions and all that kind of stuff, it is very real that if you're going to a specialist within a super fund, or who only sells those products within that super fund's arrangement, or if you're going to a bank which has those products that they're providing as well, you're going to get a limited scope of advice from that. And I think there is, just from what I've seen, I'd love to get your thoughts on it, but from what I've seen, there's been a huge exodus from the industry, which also sucks because there's a limited amount of you. But there's been this exodus of people leaving the industry because they were in environments that weren't doing the right thing, actioning the right advice. And there still seems to be that stigma kind of holding off. Yep. But is that are people in a position where I can achieve your goals by sticking to investing super without kind of going into these things? And they missing the multiplication, that next level goal, creating wealth?
Yep.
Is that maybe the...
There are so many different intricate parts to this.
Yeah.
Where, to be honest with you, first things first, coming back to the advisor level, and we won't go back to the Royal Commission, it comes down to circle of competence. If an advisor has an undergraduate degree and that focused purely on regulated assets and things like that, just regulated things, insurance, super, investing, that's all they're going to focus on, right?
Yep.
If you've got somebody who's gone out and done an SMSF specialisation and done things with property, they're going to have that broader menu of what they can do. That's fundamentally how that's going to work.
Yep.
In terms of achieving your goals, a lot of the time, most people can achieve what they need through simple, sound, no frills, repeatable strategies. You just, and it's becoming more and more prevalent, particularly since COVID when rates dropped. People were thinking, all right, well, how can I do this better? I can borrow money at 2%. What can I do? And then that opened a really big can of worms. Buyers agents, brokers exploding, financial planners jumping into leverage strategies. So, for somebody that has that sort of qualifications, you know what I mean? You can open the menu up broader, achieve people's goals sooner. And I also think people are having more and more audacious goals, big things that they want to do. But on top of that, for the average member in society, people's goals are actually getting further away from them. We talked about the home ownership thing before. Yeah. We're not going to go down that path. But if the average home is more expensive and someone has to have a bigger deposit and then more money to service the loan, they are going to have to take more risks to achieve that goal. Yeah. So it forces us down a little bit of a rabbit hole to provide that advice as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Mate, there's just, I think there's always a zone of genius, right? That you're really, really competent within. And financial planners, I believe more than any other kind of financial services industry in Australia, are very broad. And so that's a really great point in terms of, well, if you've studied within this sphere, gotten really good, what else are you missing? And I think from a brokering lens, we know how to do a lot because I've just gone, let's just throw ourselves into it and see what happens. It's not, you do the broker, the diploma, all respect to the diploma. I don't think I learned anything. It's, not really set up to turn you into a turnkey broker. It's there to tick a compliance box. And I think having yourselves and, by good property advisors, buyers agents, all these different experts is actually what has taught me more than anything. But speaking on teaching, you have an incredible career. Not incredible career in terms of you've hit the highest heights or anything like that. You are excellent at what you do, but just you've had this kind of 180 into financial planning, or this 90-degree turn into financial planning. What's your origin story, mate?
Yeah. Are we talking childhood or are we talking the entry into financial planning?
Entry into financial planning. That's,
Look, to be honest, I was very, very fortunate when I left school. Before I sat my exams, I got a notification that I'd been accepted into Griffith to do law and economics. And then as part of economics, it was only a major of a commerce degree. So you had to try and do your fundamental courses in a few different things. And funnily enough, the one thing I didn't choose was financial planning, right? I did the accounting, finance.
Sorry, before you left school, you
No.
found out you found out you had been
correct.
accepted.
Yeah, I got early entry. Yeah, so I found that out before I'd sat my exams.
Was that scholarship?
Yeah, I was on a scholarship.
Yeah.
It was only a small one at the time. It wasn't, but they basically said, "Don't worry about your ATAR, you're in." So I was very
This is
lucky.
in New South Wales, I assume, ATAR. Is that
Correct.
Queensland?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
cool. I was like,
Queensland was OP at the time.
Yeah,
and
cool.
we had ATAR. Now,
I just think we need to compare the pair for a second. Is it a range for ATAR? How's that work?
no, it's I think. Oh, well, we're talking 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
But when I was there, it went from, I think, 35 to 99.95.
Yeah.
If you were 35 or below percentile,
Yeah.
they just said less than 35.
Okay, so
Right.
it's ranked on a percentile
Correct.
type thing.
But
Okay.
one thing that I found in my experience at university, and this is extremely biased, so please listen in, the New South Wales children and people from Victoria, they destroyed the Queensland students because back when I went to uni,
Yep.
Queensland, you didn't have to sit exams. So
Yeah, I mean,
if
true.
we sat a 4-hour
but-
law exam, they might write 10 pages.
Yeah.
We could write 10 pages an hour because we'd sat 4-hour exams for every subject. So I found that. But one thing, sorry, just to play.
No, it's just important that I think
Yeah.
Queensland was more focused on state of origin. So
Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a tough carry.
I'm Victorian, so I'm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
No, my point out of that, I got an OP 21 out of 25.
I couldn't tell you what that
Yeah.
would
So
be.
one bet, 25
Yeah.
worst.
I don't think
Yeah.
you could get into Griffith at the time, and this is different, but
Can't get into
I
anything.
think it might be, you had to have
Yeah.
OP 1 through to 4 or something, but it was too,
Yeah.
it's too hard to compare between states. But anyway, coming back to your question, got to sort of, it's a 5.5 year double degree, and I got to third year and I started to get itchy feet, and I knew at the time, I was starting to know, I don't think I want to be a lawyer. I'd done a bit of economics work through the university and absolutely loved it. And I thought finance is for me. After I turned 18, I started investing. So by now I'm 21, that sort of thing. I've been doing personal finance for a while.
Yeah.
And I actually wrote, I created a LinkedIn account and wrote an Excel spreadsheet. It was just over 100 people
Yep.
within, I think it might have been an 80-kilometre radius of Coolangatta. And I reached out to all of them, and I actually color-coded it once. I reached out to them, had they come back to me, that sort of stuff. And in all different finance and legal fields. And I had one respond. One. And they might have been about 103, and that was the partner that we just brought out. He responded. I worked in financial planning, and I would have been, this was circa September of 2018. I was wrapping up uni. And within 6 months of working for him for free, I knew that this was going to be the place for me. So did a bit of legal work in 2018, 19, 20. But by the end of 2021, I was like, I'm not renewing my practicing certificate. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, I think I know a lot of financial planners where it's like it's the second career move.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, actually, this is really fascinating. Was there something that brought you particularly in to that?
Yeah. Well, I was very lucky, as I said, that I had a great mentor.
Yeah.
You're exactly right that no kid leaves school and goes, I can't wait to be a financial planner. Out of my class at uni at the moment, I'm teaching we just finished, but there was 24. There were 2 in there that said they think they might be interested in being an advisor.
Yeah.
So that shows you the scale of disinterest. For me, it was, as I said, I was 3-4 years entrenched into investing in my own self and from a financial perspective, and working with this person, going from client to client and seeing, in my opinion, we were helping clients grow their wealth, or step into retirement, or get the first property, or whatever it may be, right? All these different milestones. When I was working at Varsity Lakes for the legal firm, we were helping people get out of trouble. And that's not a good or a bad thing. That's fine. You're helping people in different ways.
Yep.
But when I went home from my financial planning job, I was really, really happy.
Yeah.
When I did 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. at the legal firm and went home, I was exhausted, went to bed, went back to the office the next day and went, I've got to find another 8 to 10 billable hours.
Yeah.
And it was chalk and cheese once I got to that decision.
Yeah. There's something about helping people execute on their dreams, right? Like, my favorite moment, like I will race with the team to get it done, is I will get a text message and do everything I can to get them like into the CRM to get a deal into the unconditional stage. So the client gets the text message like that.
Yep.
And that is just the best.
Absolutely.
I think we did, like, it took us longer to get into investing clients more so because I was just really loving that for home buyers. Because investors are like, oh, sweet, awesome, thanks for your work, good work, great communication, love it. Home buyers, home upgraders, which we're talking about today, they're just like, it happened.
You're
like it's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Like it's really fun helping people buy homes and buy a place. And,
Exactly.
you know, like back to the early point around emotion, it's, you know, seeing people amplify their current position and take those steps and execute on the plans and the goals that you've all put in. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's one thing that you're extremely lucky with is you take people on a journey and there is a finish line. Loan settled, you got your keys, you're moving in, here's your flowers, I'm so happy for you.
Yep.
The unfortunate thing about being a financial planner, it's like being a PT at the gym.
Yep.
I can get really amped up because I see them making progress, but I don't have an ongoing relationship with 99% of my clients because I don't believe in ongoing advice fees, which is a topic for another day. I get amped up because they're making progress, but I don't have that point where you've achieved your goal because you're always just moving along, right? So I get the most satisfaction when somebody says to me, hey, you've changed my life, or I see them 5 years down the track and I go, wow, look at what you've done. Unbelievable. Yeah, because they've just stuck to the plan.
Yeah. Awesome. So I think it's interesting because you're always like with moving from law, financial planning, going through that process, like it's a very deliberative kind of moves that you've made in that. And one of the things I like to do with money, for example, is I like to kind of gamify it because I think mentally I go, well, I'm at times much better at, you know, managing a computer game than I am my own life and just taking that step back from everything and looking at all that. So I'm curious because you've got an analogy around financial decisions and a chessboard. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I look at your financial situation like a chessboard. Didn't actually know this until someone told me recently, but apparently an author once wrote about this. I haven't read the book, but we all know what a chessboard is. I grew up playing chess. My dad used to force me to play chess. He loved
Your
chess.
carpenter dad.
Yeah, carpenter father, mathematics,
Same.
chess, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I'll probably do the same to my son in a couple of years' time. But we all know what a chessboard looks like, right?
Yep.
We see them in the parks. We've seen them around town. If you don't play chess, you still know that each piece does its own thing, has its own pros and cons, and you need to play chess with the whole board. No two games are the same, and everyone's financial planning situation is the exact same. So if I meet with you, if I meet with someone else, completely different starting points in life, completely different points where we meet, and completely different end points. And that is what we need to focus on. Where are you? Where do you want to go? And then what do we need to do to get you there? And then from there, I can play chess in 5 different ways.
Yeah.
And I can model how I'm going to play chess with your financial situation in 5 different ways. And then you say, I want option 3 because that gives me the ability to travel. I don't want option 1 because that's really, that's going all out and I'll have no balance, right? And that's where the client tells me. But from a chessboard perspective, just coming back to that, each piece on that board is a different aspect of your financial situation. So just to name a few, cash flow management, your assets, your liabilities, your super, your investment portfolio, your structuring, your estate planning, businesses if you have any. There's so many there, right? So many people have, let's just say the average person has 8 pieces, just for argument's sake.
Yep.
Most people play with 2. They neglect the rest. So to give you a prime example, because it's a property-based podcast.
Well, what would be some examples that I think people are missing when they're upgrading a home specifically?
Yeah, okay. Well, they're focusing on one piece and it's property. And then because they want that property, they have to focus on the debt piece. Can I afford this?
Yep.
Now, some people, and I gave the example before, don't then go and take the next step and focus on their cash flow. Now, we can take that a lot further and go, hey, well, if you can save, let's say $30,000 a year at the moment, but you're upgrading the home, before we even make this move, let's run the numbers and go, all right, how's that going to look? Because once you upgrade, you can now only save $10,000, and that's $200 a week to put that into rough terms. Are you comfortable with that? Because we haven't budgeted for Christmas and birthdays yet.
Yeah.
Right. And they can see that and make that decision before they do it. Because this is really important. Your income's going to go up over time throughout your career. Your expenses are going to grow up through taxation and lifestyle creep and things like that. The gap there, the savings, if there's no savings, right, because you keep upgrading the home or the car or whatever it may be, how are you going to invest to retire early? How are you going to put money in super? Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's a few other boring pieces as well, just like you said there with the family home. A lot of the time people, let's say they don't own a home and now they're going to go and buy the family home. What about one of those boring chess pieces like estate planning? Yeah. Too often I see mum, dad, couple of kids, plenty of assets, super, a property, whatever it may be, don't even have a will. There's no power of attorney and they like to travel. They're overseas and the hot water system or something goes wrong with an investment property. There's no one there to fix it. They've got to fly back from France to fix it. Or a guardianship document. If something happens to us, what's going to happen to our kids? Had a client a couple of weeks ago, or won't say a name or anything, got into their superannuation, and their superannuation, if they passed away, was going to go to their 2-year-old. How's that going to work? That's that chess piece view. Unpacking every can of worms.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just stuck. Man, it's going all on unicorns if it's my daughters. So what, like, I think if you take a step back, you start looking at those long-term impacts, does that conversation you're having with a client change if you're 35, 45? Like, is there, or is it, more like 30 to 50? What is it, different timeframes? What are the differing age factors that kind of come into that discussion? Because I think one of the things that we see a lot is, I've just got to get into property for 5 years and invest, or like, I want to get this house and I'll figure it out in 20 years when I actually retire. Yeah.
Well, you definitely don't want to do that. You actually want to have a rough idea of what you're doing before you do that. Don't get me wrong. Finance is a game of pivoting.
Yeah.
Life's going to punch you in the face and you've got to pivot left or right. When it does, then you'll pivot again and again and again.
Yeah.
Like, so many things happen that we can't plan for. But having a rough idea is really, really important. Yeah. Now, you said there about age groups. There are generalizations with age groups that I can make. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, for the average 30-year-old, I know that they have 30 years before, at a bare minimum, before they can access their super. With a 30-year mortgage, they'll definitely have that debt-free. So we've got plenty of time, right, for somebody making these big decisions if they're 30. But somebody who really enjoyed their 30s, had a couple of kids, went traveling, they just focused on life, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But if they get to 45 and they go, I'm sick of rent investing, or maybe they didn't buy property at all, and now they want to buy the family home, well, not only do we have to factor in your ability to get the deal over the line, you're not going to be paying this off at 75, are you? No. So we need to have that conversation around when are you happy to work till? Is it 65?
Yeah.
Is it 60? Because if it's 55 and we have no passive income and we can't access our super, there's going to be no early retirement, whether you wish it into existence or not. Yeah. Right? So, we need to focus on that. But at the end of the day, everybody's got a different where they are and where they want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting because if good luck getting a loan less than 30 years, right? Just, servicing, borrowing capacity wise, the reality is if you're in a house for 25 years, that's your dream home, you've got two options. You're going to eviscerate your super to pay it off or downsize. Like, that's kind of the post-retirement perspective. And I think the banks don't, like, they just want a reason or evidence that you've kind of just thought about this and it might be possible. And so I think that chess piece is really, really important. So if you've had the right discussion, you've looked at your chessboard, you've made all the moves, you figured it out with yourself, gone through that whole process and gone, okay, We know our budget. We've got our borrowing capacity. We might have some investment properties. We've already made some moves around there. What I think was really interesting, the last discussion we had was really around things like CGT, getting, debt structured in the right entities, all that kind of stuff. And so one thing that I think I've seen personally, this is really why I wanted to really get you on to kind of go through these things, is just how you time and frame the sell, buy, keep the existing property as an investment. Just all those kind of factors is really, really interesting to me, because that's stuff I can't talk to as a broker at all. Yeah,
that's right. I'm seeing a lot of LinkedIn posts talk about things like the 6-year exemption rule and all these fancy rules, but they're just fundamentally wrong. So I'm glad you asked me. At the end of the day, the first thing I like to do with a client, if they're upgrading the family home, is us actually have a conversation around the decision to keep or sell the existing home.
Yep.
Now, we talked about it before. When we buy a family home, we buy with emotion.
Yep.
We look at that and go, I love the flooring. Oh, the ceilings are high. The yard's beautiful for the kids.
It's got a cloaked room.
Yeah. Those do not often translate into amazing investments. If you brought in Brisbane in 2019, didn't matter what you brought, you've done well. Okay.
Yep.
But for most people, the decision's going to be different. So we want to figure out, is this a good asset first?
Yep.
Because if it's not, the decision's made for you.
Yep.
Okay. Now, assuming that asset is even average, right? Let's just say it's grown by 6 or 7%.
Yep.
And if you rent it out, you're going to get a 3.5% yield. Some people will go, oh, amazing. Like, that's great. Let's keep it. I'll keep that as an investment property. Well, as an alternative, because that's been your family home this whole time, you can actually take the capital gains and run with it, right? Very few investments in life you're going to get to keep CGT free. You can then take that, pay down your new home loan. Let's just say it's 6%. That's a guaranteed 6% return. So you get to keep all your capital gains, pay off your home loan. And then from there, and you mentioned it before, getting people in the right seats, buyers, agents, brokers, that sorts of thing. The chances are, if you've moved 10 minutes away from where you previously lived, that you want 2 properties, both in that area. Not really going to be a great decision long term. You're going to do really well when that market's booming. If you own 3 properties in Brisbane and then it's going crazy, you're going to make a lot of money.
Yep.
But even from a land tax perspective and state by state diversification, a lot of the time it can make sense to reduce the non-deductible loan that you've just taken out. Because when you go and take on your $1 million, $2 million loan for your new home, maybe you can sell your first place for $1 million, knock that loan down by $1 million, and then you can actually utilize the equity to go and purchase in a market with a buyer's agent that they determine at the time is appropriate.
Yeah.
But the chances are that your old home is the best investment for you at that any given time. 1 in 10 times I see it worth keeping.
Okay, so it's Alex here again. The fun stuff, it's about to start. Reminder, if you've got any questions after this or any details you need to clarify, please reach out. Riley and my contact details, email addresses, they're in the show notes. But there's a bunch of stuff that we're about to talk about with CGT, negative gearing, real borrowing capacity information. It's just changed. It could be wrong. It could not. It's very hard to know what's happening on this stuff at the moment. But again, we're talking about evergreen principles, cash flow, real things. And if you need real technical information, check out the budget reply and the distilled episode coming out in 2 weeks' time. Enjoy. Yeah, because the emotion is real of I never want to sell a property. And we've discussed this a couple of times on the podcast. Like I just never wanted to sell a property. And I kind of growing up and I was like, why would you sell? Like, you got to pay fees, da-da-da. And then it was one day you going, well, let's just take advantage of the CGT stage that property is in and repurpose that. And I think seeing borrowing capacities, like, I spoke to someone locally earlier this year or late last year, and he really, really wanted to keep his 2-bedroom investment property. And I was looking at going, mate, in Geebung, like it's just not growing. It's not growing at all. And it's a small loan with actually, because it's still over a loan term of 30 years and maybe 20 to go, you've been there 10, repayments aren't significantly decreased. So we're going to refinance it to stretch that out to get the equity. Like borrowing capacity is still not going to be there because there's not that much negative gearing in. Like there's a lot of factors that just limit that actual next investment purchase. We're taking that cash, to your point, reducing the principal of the next property down, and then you've got more options. Kind of long term, you've got a bit extra cash flow. You can look at investment properties, again, in better locations. That all just compounds to kind of improve that situation.
Yeah. It compounds massively. And another thing that people need to be aware of, and this is where advice really comes in, whether it's your accountant helping you or seeing an advisor, the tax law is very favourable to the family home.
Yep.
And we do have the main residence exemption. We've got the 6-year exemption rule. We even have sort of a 6-month crossover period where you move from property A to B. You've got 6 months to sell property A, and they'll still give it to you tax-free even though you've been in your new house for a little bit. If you go outside of that, right, and you say in that case that you gave me there, that person goes, no, I want to hold on to this, and they hold on to that for the next 3 years, then it starts to become a question of days lived in, right? Okay, wow. This one was my main residence until X period. Now I want to claim my other one. Now you've got tax once it became an investment property. To use a round number, and this is what I find frames it well for a lot of clients, particularly if the property is underperforming. If they can sell that for $1 million, right, let's just say $1 million and there's no debt on it, or that's what they'll keep afterwards. If they take that $1 million and then go and pay that off their new non-deductible loan on the family home, if they have a 6% interest rate on their new home, they're saving $60,000 a year in non-deductible interest, which go onto a pay calculator and look up how much you need to earn to actually keep $60,000 a year after tax in your own pocket. So we find a lot of the time that decision is just so easy to make if that's an average asset, because they go, hang on, I only earn $90,000, which means I'm pretty much going to work just to pay the bank the interest. So let's get rid of it and let's go again. And it makes the decision easier.
Yeah, it's and I think you've got an opportunity to really nail that purchase as well when you do. Like, I'm a big fan of selling and buying, or getting a bridging loan to go bang bang as quickly as possible. And like at Funded, we've got a client where I think they had a bridging loan for 5 days recently, and they just nailed the intensity of that, because they're like, hey, the risk of not buying something immediately just really, really struggles a lot for us. We're not going to be able to deal with that well. We've got this bridging loan option. We're just going to get it, work through it, but the house is completely ready to go on the market. And it was just incredible, that process and the intensity and the momentum that they got through doing that. The flip side is some of the best wins I've got is when they've sold and gone, let's just do this, and found their dream home. Well, they've already been negotiating and going, Alex, we need an agent. And it's like, yep, Richard will call you in an hour. Like, we've just been able to transact on that, right? That actually, the situation I'm thinking of, they sold, they're like, we just need to sell. Like, there's just no other way. We need to realize all the equity to make it happen. Richard had it on in, I think, 2 weeks. And they were negotiating on a property at the same time that was subject to sale of theirs. It fell through. I knew the agents on both sides of the transactions. And I remember chatting to the agent, and Josh is like, yeah, we just, we got this other offer they're both subject to, and that one was just way more. It was like 50, 80 grand more.
Wow.
They couldn't actually realize that on the sale. And so I think the sell subject to the buy subject to the sale of your property, you get stuck into these windows as well of, we've just promised way more than our equity will ever realize. But those guys actually, once it fell through, were right there with their original offer. And they'd sold by that point. So it's, like, I just think that sell buy transaction window is epic, especially when you're taking the CGT stuff. Like, it's a significant boost.
Exactly right. And this is also why we need the team around us too. Like, at the end of the day, plenty of times we have a client with intent to keep the first property. I go, have you spoken to a broker? They go, oh, no, not yet. We're just looking at the houses. I go, well, go speak to your broker, because they're going to tell you what your budget is. And then the broker turns around and says, no, you actually need to sell this. And it makes the decision for them. So often, this is my favorite analogy. I think this is at the moment, but it is going to be a permanent analogy. The broker is the current location on a map when it comes to what you can do. So you can talk to yourself about planning. You can go to a buyer's agent. You can go to open homes. You can do all that. But if you don't know what your borrowing capacity and equity situations allows you to do, you'll never actually be able to navigate to anywhere. Like, exactly right. It's a game of finance.
And then you've got financial planners who kind of glue us experts all together, is the other way I do it. I think from your financial planning lens, what does a clean debt structure look like post an upgrade event? So you've got, say we've kept the existing house. We may or may not have wanted to cross collateralize. So we've got another loan for the equity to purchase the next property. So we've got one on the PPOR equity, or, just two investment next one. Is there any preferences on how you want to see that kind of, or you've just gone, hey, we've sold everything, one loan on the next property? Is there any kind of structural things that you're looking for as a financial advisor moving forward around loan structure or debt structures? Or
Well, what you've said there's pretty well on the money. Like, in terms of that, everything you said there's perfectly fine.
Correct.
I would like to say,
sorry.
I would like to say as well, it's a common sense approach. Like brokers like yourselves, where you've just said that. That's perfectly
just
fine.
To clarify, is in accessing equity and splitting the assets is what you mean, or
well, yeah, that's what I'll get to in a moment.
Yep.
Like, if they're selling and they're buying the new home, if it's just one PPR loan, and I can clearly see that's a non-deductible loan with an offset account, boom, happy days, right? No issues. Where I'm not starting, I've always sort of seen issues is people that have cross-collateralized really early, or that's just because they want to go property. Or I actually saw recently a client who'd cashed equity out of an investment property to use for investment purposes. And then when unknown banks settled that loan, they sent the cashed out equity not to its linked offset account. They sent it to the PPR offset account, which changed the initial purpose of the cashed out equity. So not only did the client pay interest on that investment loan until they caught up with me and realized this at a higher rate, they'd also realized that wasn't deductible, because the ATO looks at what was the purpose of those funds that you've, used them for. And if you take money out of your investment property to pay off your non-deductible family home loan, you can't claim a deduction. So we actually had to go back with that bank, not myself, with that broker. And this was their broker. And the broker had to, go back and fix it and refresh the loan and do all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, everything you said is perfectly fine. One thing that I will add in that I really like, if we can use a lender that allows multiple offset accounts, I find that is amazing, because clients really struggle to manage their money with one offset account. And if you're with XYZ bank that has one offset account, I go to them and say, oh, how much of an emergency fund do you have? I don't know. How much money have you set aside for that holiday you've got this year? I don't know. School fees? Don't know. If you can have like 10 offset accounts, not everyone needs 10. Some banks will let you have 99. You can essentially go there and manage your money extremely well via a bucketing approach. The emergency fund's always there. It never moves, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's what I care about more.
I'm very similar on that page. I think there's only one major who really has issues with that. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of second tiers that are allowing multiples offsets accounts. I'm almost in the perspective of just, if you have bulk savings, bulk cash, like every investment property should have a siloed approach. And I'm on the page of, you treat an investment like a business. You keep everything clear, all income, all expenses, they go through the one offset account attached to that investment property. And that's easy at tax time, right? Then you keep your personal separate to that. And then you've just got banks who are like, hey, we've got $10 per offset account. And you might be 0.05% cheaper, but you add 2 offset accounts and suddenly it's just blowing the whole cost out.
Just
and
pay your package fee. Yeah. One thing you said there, I'm slightly different. I do believe in siloing property, like your rent and your loan repayments from one account. So you can see, like for me, I literally name the account like property X and property Y. I do like those offset accounts to be linked to my family home though. I don't want to see people using the offset account that's associated with their investment debt, because if you're offsetting your investment debt, you just pay more tax.
Yes, I think it's a great point, because mine was more so,
keeping it clean for the account.
An offset account, but you link, like you manage the money through that one account versus...
Exactly. Yeah, I know what you meant. Yeah, just for the listener.
Yeah, I've got clients who just are missing clarity over their finances. Yeah. They don't know their current position because they feel stressed because they've got literally four investment properties that are all transacting out of their one personal account.
Yeah, you can't do
crazy.
it. And until you sort that out, you will not get anywhere because your cash flow it's learning to walk before you can run.
I would almost rather you don't use offset accounts and just have 5 accounts. Like I'm sure you've actually got the maths behind that, but I think from a financial management perspective of using bank accounts effectively, if that's such an issue and your bank that you're with at the moment is just not going to help you and we need to take your home loan elsewhere and for whatever reason, just actually keep your banking the same and maybe put any bulk cash against your home loan that you've got, like a emergency fund and stuff like that. So
you've got to adjust your framework for every client as well. You can have basic rules of thumb, but at the end of the day, it's like a diet. Not everyone's going to stick to the chicken and rice diet.
No, because it's boring.
Yeah, that's right. And people, unfortunately, cash flow is boring. Gets results though.
It's not.
It's so much fun. It's not if you're us.
Yeah. Is there any situations you know of where keeping the first home does make sense?
Oh yeah. If they've brought a home that is in a really good investment grade location that is making money hand over fist, absolutely. Okay. I have plenty of clients where they own a family home and through no fault of their own, just through work, they go, I have to move. And I go, okay, well, you're moving to, let's just pick a random spot, Townsville, or they live in Sydney and they've got to go to Melbourne. They know that they don't want to live there forever and they plan on renting. Well, that's a great opportunity to keep, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your first home. You've got the 6-year CGT exemption rule where you can hold on to that, allow it to continue to grow tax-free. But if someone is going from house A to house B, a lot of the time it has to be a pretty convincing reason why we want to keep house A. It would have to be, and actually, to let you know, as part of this, I provide, here's the historical numbers from a financial planner's perspective. I have a lot of clients where if they go, oh, look, you know what, I think I want to keep it, I actually send them to 2 or 3 buyer's agents.
Yeah.
And the buyer's agent will give them a bit of a H-tag analysis and their thoughts around what the future prospects of that area are.
Yeah.
And that can also help the client make an informed decision as well. But
yeah, that's interesting. I mean, buyer's agents, there's a few snake oil salesmen out there.
Absolutely.
But when you get a good one, they just execute so consistently and data driven. Like it's,
That's right. And in this scenario where they're just helping out one of our clients, they have no conflict of interest or anything like that. Like the person's already moved or is about to move from one PPR to another PPR. They're just helping give their 2 second thoughts around the prospects of that area of the first place. Yeah.
Fascinating. If you have someone who comes to you, they've already made the move. Maybe they're in that place for, over the 6-month CGT rule. They've upgraded, they've done all that. What can you do to help them recourse? Like, are you going, is there a bit of an idea around, hey, we've got this investment, it's inefficient, we've got this PPOR. Where are you kind of like approaching from a principal's perspective? Obviously don't give financial advice without seeing their information, right? But hypothetically, what?
Yeah, no, in all seriousness, and a lot of people do jump on our first 15-minute phone call and go, I've got a place here and here, what do I do? And they expect an answer. I need to actually see your numbers. I need to go through your tax returns. I need to run, RP data reports. We maybe get, as I said, second opinion from BAs and all that sort of stuff. I might run a couple of financial modelling scenarios of keep versus sell, that sort of stuff. But the first thing I need to do is figure out, based on the past performance, is this a good asset? And then we go and get the analysis around the future performance. If they are over the 6-month window where they've moved from property A to property B, whether it was an investment or not, but they were claiming property A, they're now claiming property B, and let's say they've been in property B for 12 months.
Yeah.
There's that period now of ambiguity where are you claiming the house you live in, or are you still claiming the old one, and the one you're living in you're not going to claim the main residence exemption for? That's where sometimes we have to run the numbers. I had a client, settles in 4 days. They moved to Ballina. They had a house in Tweed Heads that was a principal place of residence. They moved last year in June. they hadn't liquidated the property in Tweed Heads because of how good the market was going. Now they're at the stage with their accountant, and we're doing round tables where they can claim the first property A, completely tax-free. But the thing that they need to be aware of when they liquidate the new property that they're in, they have to remember, hey, the first 9 months of you living in this, it was technically an investment property because you can't have your cake and eat it too. And you already claimed the main residence exemption on the first property. Becomes a timeline, but you can't claim two at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you, in those scenarios, you mentioned earlier, like the days in the property, like, is that then the longer you're in that Tweed property becoming a percentage game of, do you get like a percentage CGT free or
more the second property?
Yeah.
Because they've claimed that they've decided with their accountants claim the first property completely CGT free because it's made a lot of money.
Yep.
So now what happens is on the property in Ballina, when they sell that in X period of time, they have no timeline. It's probably their forever home.
Yep.
But when they eventually sell that, if they live in that for 3,000 days, but the first 300, right, nearly a year, just for argument's sake, was an investment property. Yeah, essentially it will apportion the gain, and you will owe tax on that portion that it was an investment property. But you're still going to get, the CGT discount and things like that. So it made a lot of sense for them to take a lot of money from the Tweed Heads property, run tax-free, put that to good use, and then, one day you'll have to pay a tiny little bit of CGT on the Ballina property.
Yeah. Man. So this is the thing. I see the same post, right, around the old, like that was the old rule, 7 years. If you live in a property for X amount of years, you get it tax-free for 7 years or something prior. Because I've seen that a lot.
In my time, it's always been the 6-year rule.
6 years, sorry. I got that. It is something where, like, anytime I see someone jumping out of their zone of genius and like getting out of their where they work, and there's a guy that runs around with a red hat a lot online. I don't know if you get that. You get that reference.
Thought of the same red hat before you said it, but I'm not going to say it.
Yeah. And I'm just like, and I get these things are all lead magnets, and he's hopefully covering himself on the back end, but I'm never clicking on those things. But it's like, I read these things. And I'm not as smart as I think I am, but I read these policies around CGT and all these different things, and I'm like, this is hurting my head.
Yeah.
It's really, really complex to understand. And so when you see a giant oversimplification online, you're like, I know this just isn't true. Like, I just know.
Yeah. You got to be really careful of oversimplifications. And on a lot of forums, there is a reason, if you're the consumer, there's a reason why they have to give an advice disclaimer. This isn't advice. Yeah. Because it's not, doesn't suit your circumstances, but also there's a good chance that something in here is not actually right for you or correct. Yeah. So, I do see a lot of issues and things on social media that are a complete oversimplification. I've seen BAs or whoever talk about claiming a property, keep it for 6 years, cash your equity out along the way, buy a couple more, then you just transfer that to the next one and so on. It doesn't work as simple as what you say. I've seen bucket company diagrams where we're distributing from a family trust to a bucket company, and they think that because the bucket company's paid 30% tax, they'll just cash in money forever, and we're just going to roll around like it's Cayman Islands with pina coladas. Like, it just doesn't work.
I don't want to know
as good as you think.
I don't want to tell you when this happened, but more recent than I'd like to admit. I was wondering why I personally had quarterly tax bills.
Yep.
And I was complaining to I was like, I thought we paid all the tax. Like, just going on about. And they're like, oh yeah, but it's, and I openly will tease my wife that we walked out of our first meeting being newly self-employed with our accountant. And I was like, oh, do you have any questions? Like, just trying to do the responsible. I work in finance. I understand a little bit of this. Do you have any questions? She's like, yeah. What's a dividend and why do they call it frank? Like, that was her, like, I was like, that was 90% of the conversation. You could have asked that. I called my accountant. I was like, why am I paying? And it was a separate conversation, just threw it in. And she's like, you still pay your normal tax rate. It's just that you get a discount based on what the company's already paid.
Yeah, the franking credit.
Yeah, and I think the times that I see these kind of all these convoluted processes and everything, like, they just all seem to open up their clients. Like, they're all finessing something that's opening you up to risk that is kind of hiding something not necessarily using a process or a system. And like trust, whenever I see a client trading out of a trust, I just know they're running their personal life out of it. Like it's just, it just does my head in. I'm like, I know you're just killing your ability to create wealth because you're not actually using this money where it should be. And that entire conversation around check out my shiny new little entity. It's like why Macquarie, and this is off topic, but why Macquarie shut down their trust lending last year.
Yep.
And everyone's like, no one does trust lending anymore. It's like, mate, most of the banks do. Like, just chill. It's just Macquarie had an insane policy that was going to kill their portfolio, and people were probably going bankrupt doing what they were doing.
Yeah, that's right.
And they were just property. Really, they were just actually investing into bulk property, watching the market go and sell. Like, they're the worst type of investors.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I was seeing a lot of that on the trust thing. You know what I mean? Set up a trust, buy a property, as long as you can afford to basically chip into the trust to cover the loan. A couple of years later, sell it, cash in, distribute the gain to whoever earns less in your household, rinse and repeat. And you know it better than anyone. You would have seen the lending policies, but it's just everything's going to move through fads. And we talked about social media and lead magnets and things a moment ago. That was something that in the last couple of years that was just so big on everyone's sort of lead magnets that you come across. There'll be something new. I could almost guarantee you in a couple of months' time with potential changes to tax for property investors, there will be new lead magnets, right? There will be something. It's really important. And just to bring it back to tax, it's all well and good to make money, but if you don't structure correctly from the get-go or you don't think about tax, you're going to keep less than you think. So, we see a lot of people have objections to whether it be pricing or getting good advice based on cost. But hang on, what's the opportunity cost? You don't want to pay X fee, but the opportunity cost for yourself as a $500,000 a year household business owner couple, you keep investing in your own names. Here's the opportunity cost when you blow up this balloon one day. We've got to pop it and it's going to really hurt. Yeah. So those sorts of things.
We discussed the game of chess. I'm excited by this next part. Discuss the game of chess. We've gone through some figures. We've got some awesome clarity around just some facts, I think, which is really cool. Like, facts are your friend, is something I like to say, because so many people get emotional about finances without actually seeing the facts. You were telling us before we started around the building mistake that happened.
Yep.
I had a client, maybe almost a year ago now, late last year, who their house was built just to the side.
Yeah.
And they just wouldn't talk to a lawyer because they were afraid of family members' experience and all that kind of stuff. Finally got them to chat to someone I know who's just like, he terrifies me. I know him really well. He's a lovely guy and he terrifies me still. And Clint's like, what do you want? What do you want out of this? He's like, all right, we'll have a conversation with them, tell them that and see what happens. Yeah. And it worked. Like, I'm just like, just get facts. Like, he'll give you the legal stuff. Like, so big fan of facts. Thank you for giving us a lot of that. That was a giant tangent. I would love, and I suspect you did this with my in-laws. For anyone listening, my in-laws, I'll chat with them if I can include this part in that afterwards. But you've done some incredible work. They're so clear on where they're at, more so than I've ever seen before, which is really, really awesome. You've got a goals-based framework activity that you do with your partner, Danielle, but you've told me about it a few times, and I'd love you to run us through that.
Yeah. Look, I actually, funnily enough, I'll start with what I do with the client, if you don't mind, and then I'll step it back to Danielle. So what I do with the client, it's called the 10-3 now. So we map out your now as it currently stands from a chessboard perspective, all those different pieces that we talked about. Then from there, what we want to do, and I need to do this with both people in the couple, we jump forward 10 years and we go, okay, well, what's life going to look like in 10 years? And they need to tell me. And we've all heard of a SMART goal. The big thing that I'm looking for is realistic. Somebody goes, I want to retire in 5 years' time with a passive income of $200,000 after tax. Like, we just need to, just step back for a second. But they tell me how they want life to look. Then we step back to 3 years and make sure that we're doing things that are helping push us towards that objective. We're rowing in the right direction. We're not doing anything that is pushing us further away. So we know where we are, where we want to go, And then from there we go, all right, what do we need to do? Okay, that's the 10-3 now. What I do with Danielle is actually hone in on the 3 years, because I don't have a lot of time to do that with a client. And when I'm providing advice, I'm thinking long term, right? 10 years and beyond, because that's where we're going to see results. It's really up to them to hone in on the 3. But in my own life, I don't have a piece of paper, but picture a piece of A4 paper, landscape. We sit at the opposite end of a table. She's pregnant, so she doesn't drink. I might have a beer.
She's also further along on the table.
Yeah, correct. She'd also.
My wife had twins. She was massive.
Yeah. We will find
Love
out
you,
how
Anna.
big our big boys in a couple of weeks. But anyway, so we're sitting at the table, have a drink, whatever you like to do. Don't sit next to each other. You want to sit opposite each other and actually a bit further away than you think. You don't want to be looking at their piece of paper. Draw a timeline from left to right and then break it down into 3 years. Most people use calendar years in their own personal life, so go ahead and do that. So if obviously when you're starting this, you're not going to wait till 1 January 2027. So maybe you just do, I don't know, May to May, right? May 26, 27, 28, so on. Do 3 years. Now, write down in the bottom corner what you guys think you can save. If you should know what you can save if you're Fair Income, but write down what you think you can save.
I think you
quite
overestimate people's...
I am. I know I'm overestimating. But if you go, I can save $300 a week, that's 15 grand a year, just for rough numbers. But figure out what your yearly figure is and do this in complete silence. Write down on your years what you want to do in those years individually, career-wise, but as a household. That's really what we're focusing on here. You and your partner are a team. And once you're done, just put your pen down, finish your drink, wait patiently. And then once you're done, go one by one, right? So I let Danielle go first. She goes, all right, the first thing I want to do is...
It's a trap, Danielle.
She might say, I want to have a child. And that's the stage of life that we're in. Some people might say, I want to have a holiday. I want to change jobs. Whatever it is, say your number one thing. Then you go, say your number one thing. Work your way through it, okay? And one thing that's going to become abundantly clear is that we have an infinite amount of wants, but a finite amount of money. So if you can save $15,000 a year to keep the same number, and that trip to Japan is going to cost $8,000, well, whatever you're adding into the rest of the next 12 months, it needs to stay within budget because it's not possible, right? Really, really important. By the time you get through this exercise, you're going to exhaust your budget in each of the 3 years, okay? And then you're going to go, there are things at the bottom of this that we just can't afford to do. And that's really important to recognize that I can't afford to do all of this. Most people can't afford to do everything that they want to do. The purpose of this exercise is to get you to plan with your partner, but to have tough conversations early. I do not like where I'm doing a discovery meeting with a client and they're getting into an argument about, are we upgrading the family home or are we not? Or I want 4 kids and you now want 2. It's not a fun thing. If you guys are doing this yourself.
It's also not fun to be put in the middle as financial experts, because we have been, to be put in the middle of that discussion. Like that's, it's like, I just had my opinion. I don't care which one you do. Yeah.
But I just need to know.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, taking a financial planner out of it, because most people don't have a financial planner, it just feels really good after this exercise to sit down or give your partner a hug and go, let's do this. Because we're a team, right? There's things that I want to do that was maybe your third priority and we brought it forward. So now with your first priority, I'm going to compromise and we're going to do that.
Yeah.
I have no scientific evidence behind this, but I think it leads to much, much happier couples. I've worked with couples for, like, as I said, 8 years now, and they still do this exercise. I've been doing it. We stick it on the fridge. And the funnest part is coming back to it a year later or 3 years later. We actually went through one, Danielle and I have been together for 10 years. We went through one that ended in 2021, found it in the drawer, because we keep them up while they're valid and they go in the drawer. And it's just funny. It was like Germany in 2020 and 2021. It was like, go over here. And
Did you make it to Germany in 2020?
No.
No.
No way. Like COVID. Yeah. So it's good. As I said, finances and life is a game of pivoting. You will have to pivot, but at least if you guys have a rough plan of this is what our team, our household's doing, you're going to be on the same page.
What, Anna and I do an annual thing, and we intend to once a month talk about finances, and inevitably don't. But the budget is kind of like quarterly reviewed, and we actually have a tool to help you with that discussion, kind of in a monthly check-in perspective. But how often, so you finish this activity, you've got your goals of the year, you've kind of planned how you're going to do that. Is that a monthly check-in that you and Danielle would do, kind of like over that 3-year period, or like yearly? Like, or is it just every time you're looking at it all the time on the door as you go in and out of the fridge?
Yeah. So there's no fixed catch-ups on the goals. I find that once you do that exercise, at that point, within the next 3 months, you get a lot of motivation. So if in year one it's a job change, or it's a holiday, or it's do X, Y, Z, a lot of the time that organically pushes momentum, and you scheduling things in for September and so on and so forth. And then, I would say every 6 months to the start of every year, you're like, what did we have on the thing for this year? Oh, look at that. Nothing's changed. How good. Let's do it. And then you're pre-booking it in again. Just depends on what you've got there. If it's a job change, they're pretty big decisions. If it's a child, same thing. If it is take a holiday, you book it 3 to 6 months in advance. Good to go. That's what I would say. You mentioned there as well around cash flow. That's a really important thing to have. Like, as humans, we move back to our normal status quo. And for a lot of people, that isn't managing our cash flow. Now, you said there, you go to review your budget and your cash flow once a month and it doesn't end up happening. I'm the exact same. So maybe I say to my clients quarterly max. But the big thing that I like to see is a lot of the time one person in the relationship is more interested in this than the other person.
Yeah.
If that is the case, just make the catch-ups less infrequent, but you both need to be there.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I've noticed, and, certainly I would love to, we're trying to figure out how to get this into our rhythm, is just, there's no, when it comes to cash flow specifically, I don't think it's an attack discussion. Quite often it can be weaponized, and then there's emotion, and it's actually, let's just both look at our spending as a family, because that's where we're at. One of the things that I've kind of enjoyed, and Anna and I are trying to do it, is I've always been because I'm an ex-banker, I know how to use internet banking. She annoys me when she uses technology. I just extract the Excel spreadsheet of our spending, do the quick analysis, and Excel, easy, done. And we're just trying to use now more tools, the Frollo. I don't know if you've played around with that. It's awesome to just get bank statements, insights, some really high level stuff. But I'm trying to give her more tools so she can help do some of that to make it more of a conversation than just me.
Find what works for you. I love an Excel spreadsheet. Danielle couldn't think of anything worse. So an app for her is going to work really well.
Yeah.
Okay. Like you said there, it's not an attack. Everybody's going to value different things. I love to go out for a beer, and I love to go and play golf, and I like to fish. She couldn't care less. So it's about accepting.
I'm with you on one of those as well. So the other two.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, each person in the couple's going to have what they want to spend money on.
Yeah.
You just have to get over it. And if you can't get over it, have separate accounts where they have their own spending money, 5% a week or 10% a week, and then you have yours, and you don't see it. I see a lot of people that can't get over these money values or have good conversations. So they just go, we just keep money completely separate. And that actually can hinder a lot of financial growth. Also becomes a nightmare when you retire. If your super balance is bigger than theirs, but you guys have to pay for this, but then you get a couple's age pension.
And you're talking more than just individual spending accounts, because a lot of couples, I think they'll go, I've got two friends in particular, who they've got individual spending accounts traditionally. I don't know if they have since they had kids, but she just got really annoyed when he spent money on games, and he got really annoyed when she spent money on makeup, right? I mean. And so, but what they did is they just got separate, still in joint names, but separate spending accounts that they spend
That's
out
exactly
of.
Right. Splurge accounts. In the Barefoot book, that's one thing he did really well. Splurge account. Go out there and actually spend a little bit of your money every week. It keeps you accountable. It's why people on a diet have to have a cheat meal, right? Yeah. Keeps you on track. But just find a way to work with your partner.
And it's not going to click the first time.
It's not. You
Like
can have arguments.
Yeah, it probably took me 10, 11... Like, Anna and I have been married 13 years this year, together 15.
Yeah.
It probably took me 10 plus years to be able to have that conversation. It was it was a real build-up of emotion around money and having those consistent conversations. And I think this goals activity is really, really cool. The way you framed it, like in terms of like, make it a cash flow problem in a discussion as opposed to I hate what you want to do. I think that's
exactly right. Yeah.
That's really, really important.
Yeah.
Like, and then you can quite quickly make it all work.
It's just compromise. Like a funny story there, and I'll keep it quick. But when we first started living together, this is 2019. Been dating since 2016. Took a while to live together. But anyway, we went through this joint money, did all that sort of stuff. Looked at what she liked to spend her money on and what her expenses were like. And one thing that was there, you said makeup. My gosh, I had no idea what makeup costs. And I had to get over that, right? I really did have to get over that. But once I got over that hump, if I was ever in the shops and I went, no, I've seen Danielle buy these things and I know that she needs it, they're all half price.
Yeah.
I was the king husband when I come home with a thing full of makeup. But deep down, I was going, no, I know she's going to need this in a month's time. It's not going to be half price. So it's just teamwork.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember Anna started swimming a lot, like I think maybe a year or two into our marriage, and she just got tanned. She's a very white person, very white. And suddenly she was outdoors a lot, swimming every single morning, and she got a tan and she had to change her makeup base foundation. Binny can actually tell us what that's all about. I remember her old one was called French Lace. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
And suddenly, like, I think she spent like $300-400 on new makeup and stuff because like she just, I was like, this is crazy. But you no longer have a white face compared to your arms, so I guess this isn't that bad. Yeah. But yeah, if I complained about her makeup spending, though, I would be in a world of pain.
Yeah, that's right.
From other things.
That's right. I'm still waiting to come home to all the half-price beer that she brought me, but I'll keep waiting.
Anna's bought me a fair amount of whiskey over the years, so I'm not going to. I'm not going to complain, mate. Look, that was incredible. I think that process and that tool. We've obviously got our monthly meeting catch-up tool on our website, which we haven't really shared much, but I think we will. And I'll chat to you about whether we can kind of put some goal stuff in there and get your advice on it later, because I think just getting that information would be really cool to just help that conversation and make it more repeatable, easier to do. I'm all about tools and giving.
We're actually working on a couple of tools now that people as a I don't know, you could call it a lead magnet because we were talking about marketing before, but we're working on a couple of templates that your listeners will be able to take home.
Yeah, awesome.
And start this stuff themselves because it's going to provide them with a lot of value and not a cent involved.
Yeah, awesome. I think for me today, what I took away is that you're already playing the game. Mm-hmm. You just haven't looked at the board. And so spending one night a year with your partner, at least a blank page or piece of paper, and I firmly believe that you're going to outplan probably 90% of the people in Australia and just execute something that costs an evening. Really, really simple.
That's exactly right. For everybody that is listening at home for a key takeaway or something like that, we always want to think goals first, strategy second, structure third.
Yep.
And then what is the investment last?
Yeah.
Too often people are doing things in the reverse order and then getting themselves in trouble. So we're just focusing purely on the goals, like you said.
Yep. Awesome. Mate, we're going to wrap it up there because we're going to go in the post-show.
Yep.
Poor decisions. Hang around because it's a lot of fun. I'm excited to see you introduce this whiskey. I'm going to introduce this whiskey to you in a second, but I'm excited to see what Riley tees off on some of the questions we've got for him. But if you know anyone that is stuck in paralysis, just trying to make moves or making moves that just needs a bit more information and wisdom around that stuff, please pass this on to them, give it to them. We'd love to chat to them or just listen to some of the stuff we've talked about in this and the previous episode. We've got some more stuff around investing into strategy coming and, investment, building property portfolios, why you invest, all that kind of good stuff, which I'm really excited to unpack. But Riley, thank you so much for your time, mate. Where can people actually find you apart from on the beach on Pat leave?
No, thank you for having me. Best place to find me, plenty of places too, but our website, which we'll obviously be able to link in the notes. I'm very big on LinkedIn, post there 3 times a week, and that's something I've been doing for a few years. And more recently, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok doing short form videos, stepping out of my comfort zone there. So first and foremost, website.
Yep. Awesome.
Thank you.
See you later, guys.